Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm your host, the OT Astartes, and as the majority of you may know, last week we heard of the sudden passing of Radio 2 DJ Steve Wright. Now, I know that older people will remember him for his Radio 1 show, but younger people will know him for Radio 2. So on the weekdays, I would, of course, his most well-known program would be Steve Wright in the Afternoon. Sundays, it would be Steve Wright's Sunday Love Songs, and on Saturdays, more recently, he'd host Pick of the Pops for the past couple of months or so. But the show I remember him mostly for is Steve Wright in the Afternoon. It would always be Steve Wright in the Afternoon. So, when I was in my teenage years, I think this was about, oh God, I don't know. It's been that long now, I can't even remember. I'd say in the 2016 to 19 period, when it was the holidays, I would always, at 1:45, wait in anticipation. I'd wait for Jeremy Vine to finish. And I would completely light up when the news had finished and that jingle would play, that opening jingle. And whenever that played, I felt warm inside, knowing that my day would be complete with Steve Wright in the Afternoon. I'd partake in the hands up. I'd listen to all the factoids, and of course you'd have the non-stop oldies at 3, and celebrity interviews, and at 4:15 it would be serious jocking, no G. That's one of the things I always loved about Fridays, was putting on serious jocking, waiting for that to start, and having a good old boogie. Now, I was shocked when I heard about Steve Wright's death. I remember listening to Sarah Cox. She wouldn't play her post 5 o'clock jingle. And I was like, wait, someone's died. When she said Steve Wright, my heart just dropped. Like, I was shocked I was completely shocked at the news, because this was, it just hit me, this was unexpected, that someone who the other week had been hosting Pick of the Pops would no longer be with us. And lots of other people from the radio world are paying tribute, not just on the BBC, but when I'm recording this, Chris Evans was talking about him on his Virgin Radio show. He mentioned on Radio 2. Simon Mayo was talking about it on Greatest Hits. And Sarah Cox was the most emotional, I think. Sarah and Bobby. Because, Bobby could barely read the travel. I think we haven't, in the radio world, we haven't had something that has hit us this hard since the death of Terry Wogan. And also, just last year, we heard of the death of Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt. That hit me hard, but that didn't hit me as hard as Steve Wright's death. Because, Steve was the best thing that I look forward to on Radio 2 in the afternoons. He was what kept me listening. Him and Ken Bruce are what kept me listening to Radio 2 in more recent times. Some of the songs that he'd play would be what introduced me to some music. I'd always liked the music that he'd play. He didn't just play old music, he'd play new music as well. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we had the non-stop oldies, which would be half an hour of older music dedicated, well, from the listeners. Yeah, Radio 2 will never be the same. I don't think it was the same when Steve Wright left his afternoon show. And now I think radio will never be the same without Wrighty, you know. And late last week I was listening to Steve Wright's show on Mixcloud from 2019, and I was reliving my teenage years because I felt joy listening to Steve Wright's voice and obviously his jingles, and you know, he gave me a joy that nothing else will replace, you know. And I don't think we'll ever get another Steve Wright in the afternoon. Enough said. We aren't going to get another Steve Wright in the afternoon, and we'll never get another Steve Wright. So it just leaves me to say thank you for the happiness that you've given me, Steve.